Welcome, everybody. The NFL Draft is within a week, which means it's time to look at some of the best players in the 2023 NFL Draft. I'm Joe with the Game House, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 5 wide receivers in the 2023 NFL Draft. The wide receivers are up in our position rankings for the 2023 NFL Draft. We're going to be going through my player profiles I wrote for thegamehouse.com for the top 5 wide receivers. If you want to see the full list of wide receivers, that will be published next week on thegamehouse.com, along with Big Board and more mock drafts before we get to this 2023 NFL Draft. So let's get it started here at number 5 on the list of top 5 wide receivers. I'm going to go Josh Downs, the wide receiver out of North Carolina. Really stepped up in Sam Howell's last year at North Carolina and then continued that and helped Drake May become a kind of a star last year for the Tar Heels. He's a very good athlete. He's got good long speed. He's able to change direction, good quickness and agility. Like that about him. He's also great with the ball in his hands because he runs after the catch well. You can kind of throw him short routes. He'll go take it for a couple yards. He's got good run after the catch. You could sometimes take it all the way to the house. He was asked to be a returner. That kind of goes hand in hand if you can run after the catch and be a returner. Kind of the same thing there. There's parts of his route running that need work, and we're going to get to some of that in a little bit here. But he's able to create separation. He's able to use his speed to stretch the field vertically. He's able to create separation that way. He has good agility to make quick cuts. That's really important. Route running is something that I value a lot. I know not everyone does in the draft kind of world. All right, so Downs is a little bit undersized, 5'9", 171 pounds. That's not going to really make a lot of people happy. But he can play the slot. I think he could do okay. He's got a limited catch radius, which is going to be a thing that quarterbacks will have to deal with. But I think he could do well in the NFL, being in the slot and just kind of playing how he currently plays. He can make pretty good contested catches for a player of his size. He does struggle with focus drops. He needs to look over the ball all the way in and stop looking to run after the catch before he has the ball all the way. And then he can run routes well, but he has inconsistencies. He can sometimes round off his routes, or he doesn't finish the route and doesn't finish the play. Something with more focus and detail, I think he could be a good route runner in the next level. He just needs to clean some of that stuff up. So I have a second-round grade on him. I think he goes second or third round. Probably second, it looks like right now, but we'll see how that all pans out. Wide receiver number 4, Jordan Addison. A little bit similar in different ways, but he was at Pitt, transferred to USC this past season. Very productive in 2021 at Pitt. Not as much at USC, but he still played okay. His greatest strength is his route running. He gets in and out of his breaks well. He can run a lot of different routes. He played in a couple different systems, so he was asked to do different things. I think he can really create separation. Even for a player of his size and speed, I think he can create separation pretty well. Good with the ball in his hands too. Good after the catch. Solid speed. Able to change those directions. He can turn routine catches into big plays. He really helped Kenny Pickett out with that in 2021 at Pittsburgh. Body control to make highlight reel catches. He has good hands. Got the long arms. Good athlete. High points the ball. Tracks it well and is able to get the ball in. Made some really good highlight catches in 2021 for Pitt as well. So the size thing is going to be a concern for Addison as well. 6 foot, 175 pounds. Didn't run the fastest for a player of his size at the NFL Combine. That is something that you'll have to want to watch out for. Could struggle with press coverage in the NFL. He might be moved to the slot because of the lack of size, which might hurt his draft value. Now, we don't really see slot receivers go highly in the draft. Even if they do end up being great NFL receivers, we don't really see that all the time that they go that high. It just might limit him a little bit, especially given that you're not matching up against those physical outside corners. He does have some drops on tape, focus drops. He needs to just focus before he turns upfield, much like Josh Downs does. Again, said like they're very similar players in different ways. But I do think that he can definitely add to his game by adding strength and helping with contested catches as well. I have a second round grade on him. It actually turned out to be a second round grade on him. I think he ends up going in the first round. This is not a deep wide receiver class. I think there will be some guys who go at the first round where they're like, most years will be like, I don't know about that one. So I think he goes first round. I think he can turn into a solid player, but probably going to be a slot guy in the NFL. And that's just a lot of these guys in this draft are a lot of undersized guys. So we'll have to see how teams value that and how they value their game-changing abilities. Next one up, Zay Flowers out of Boston College. Never really had the greatest quarterback play. Phil Jerkovich has gotten hurt. He's got guys in and out and made it tough. But he's been productive for Boston College and a guy that the other teams had to focus on to stop this Boston College attack because he's just that good. Deep threat, good speed, good acceleration, home run threat. You can throw the ball up to him. He'll go track it. I think in this regard, I think he's can kind of stretch a team vertically. Can really help open up other receivers by that too. If they got to focus on him beating them deep, they also got to open things up for other people. So he does rush his routes sometimes, but I think he's a good route runner as well. He can get in and out of breaks well. He's got great agility. I think he's got some fluid hips that help him with that. I think he can sell the routes really well. I think he can be a good route runner at the next level. He's a threat with the ball in his hands too. That speed and acceleration and agility come into play with the ball in his hands. Another one where at Boston College, they just tried to get the ball in his hands and he let him do whatever he could with it. If it was a deep pass, cool. If it was a short pass, there was still a chance he could take it a pretty good distance to get the job done. So you want to have the ball in his hands. I would say with his strengths, the strengths match up a lot with Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying he's as fast as Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying he's as good as Tyreek Hill. I'm saying that's a comp for him because of the size and the speed and the run after catch ability. The weakness is the size. 5'10", 177 pounds. Could be moved into the slot. I think he could play outside a little bit too, more so than maybe some of the other guys we've talked about. But I think he probably holds up best in the slot. I've seen him mocked to like the Chargers, right? So if he's on the Chargers in between Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, that might be a good fit and honestly help that offense out a ton. But I think he probably fits more there. Too many drops on his tape. Again, focus drops for him as well. There's a lot of focus drops in this class too. He could have trouble pulling in passes outside of his frame. Another thing to kind of work on as he goes into his NFL career. He rushes his routes too at times. He can kind of round off routes. He can not finish the rep. He needs to keep on staying detailed in his route running. But overall, first round pick grade for me for Zay Flowers. I think he's a game changer. I think he's a guy who could be maybe a better pro than he was college player because of that speed and ability with the ball in his hands. I think he could really open things up for an NFL offense. So I have a first round grade on him. I do think he ends up going first round. Now let's go to number 2 on my list here. I have Jackson Smith-Njigba at number 2. One of the best route runners in the class. It's just clean. I think between him and Jordan Addison, I think both those guys are probably top tier route runners in this draft class. Understands his leverage. He knows timing. He knows how to find the soft spot and zone. Jackson Smith-Njigba is technically refined at the route running aspect of his game. His hands are pretty reliable. Doesn't have too many drops, and I think he can make acrobatic catches. He kind of showed that, especially in 2021 before he had the hamstring in 2022. He's a good real threat with the ball in his hands. C.J. Stroud was able to find him a lot. He was able to catch the ball underneath and make things happen for Ohio State, again, specifically in 2021. The injuries are what's going to maybe scare some teams, right? So he had the hamstring injury that limited him. They're going to check in on him, see if it's good, see if it's something that could linger. You don't want to get into a situation where it's a lingering injury and then he just doesn't turn into what he's supposed to because of that injury. I'm sure they'll look into it. I'm sure they'll make sure it's good. But something they're going to want to look at that he did not really play too much during his last season at Ohio State, last season. He lined up mostly in the slot. Again, that might hurt his value. That's probably why the NFL evaluators don't like this class a lot. There's a lot of slot guys in this class, not as many good outside receivers. I think he could play on the outside. He was just never given that opportunity to Ohio State because the last year he really played, he had Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave on the outside. And he was the guy just carving people up in the slot. Might hurt his draft value, but he can still be a very good slot receiver in the NFL. He didn't face... I want to see him be more proven against press coverage. He didn't really face it as much being in the slot. I think in the NFL they might try to press him and see what they can get out of it. I think he could probably beat it with solid releases, but you want to see if he can play against that physicality. So I have a first-round pick on him as well. Think he will go first round. There was definitely some talk maybe earlier in the draft cycle about him being moved down, second-round pick, maybe not as good as some of these other things. I think he goes first round in this one. Which takes us to my number 1 wide receiver prospect, Quentin Johnston out of TCU. Now, this is a guy that I think the offense that he was in both helped him and hurt him. Like there was a lot. He was definitely like the best player on their offense, at least the skill player on the offense. We're going to get to some interior linemen in a couple of weeks that I think are pretty good, and some defensive guys as well for TCU. But I think he's best player on the offense. A lot of focus on him. They didn't have the quarterback to get him the ball as much as you would like to think. He's 6'4". I think he measured in a little bit shorter than that at the combine, 6'2" and some change. But he has the size of an outside receiver, which is not that prevalent in this draft class. Good catch radius. He's able to high point the football. Sometimes he can be inconsistent with that, but I do think he has the skill to consistently do that. I think he can really make smaller corners pay. That's what he did at the college level. He made contested catches as well. He's a good deep threat for an offense. He can throw the ball up to him. He's able to go get those jump balls. He tracks the ball well. His just height advantage. If you're in single coverage, you can throw it up to him and trust that he'll either come down with the ball or maybe he'll knock it away at the very least. So it's not as big of a risk as throwing deep balls to other receivers. For his size, he's also good at running after the catch. Now there are some instances on tape where it's like, he kind of looks like he hasn't been that good at running after the catch. Maybe he stumbles or something like that. But he has several plays on tape where he catches a slant and runs upfield, or catches a short route and runs upfield. I think he's hard to tackle because he's got speed and he's got the size. Not the most elusive guy, but he uses his vision well as well. The weaknesses for Quentin Johnston. Plenty of questions of whether he can separate from defenders as a route runner. I don't think he's the greatest route runner. I think he's okay. He's a bigger guy. It's harder for him to get in and out of his breaks. I think defensive backs in the NFL could kind of mirror his routes better than college corners did. He had focus drops as well. A big theme in this class. There's a lot of small receivers. There's also a lot of focus drops. It just looks like, again, he's looking to turn upfield and run with the ball rather than seeing it all the way in. He needs to make sure that happens. There were plenty of times where he just should have hauled in passes that he wasn't, like I mentioned in the Kansas State game in the regular season. I think he needs to add more weight to his frame. So he's a bigger outside receiver, but he's also very skinny. I think he could be more complete receiver if he adds more muscle to his game. I think this will help him out muscle defensive backs more. It'll help him be more of a deep threat, more all-around player. I think it'll help. As long as he can keep some of that speed element going, I think he's fine. So first-round pick for him. First-round pick grade. I think he's going first round. Teams who need an outside receiver might just pass on some of the other guys, where they're like, with him, it's like, we might take him. It's just the outside receivers are more valuable in terms of draft capital than some of these slot guys, even though the slot guys, I think, can have very good careers. So Johnson's number 1. We have Jack Smith-Njigba number 2, Zay Flowers number 3, Jordan Addison number 4, and Josh Downs number 5. There's my rankings. I also like Cedric Tillman as a guy to maybe slide into that second round and be a pretty good outside receiver from Tennessee. I think he was injured this past year and his stock got affected by it, but that's another one to watch out here just as a bonus. Let me know what you think of the rankings. Those are the top 5. More of them will be out on thegamehouse.com. The big board will be out. Tell me what you think of the rankings. Tell me if you have anyone else in your top 5 in the comments below. For now, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.